There is a $3 tablet sitting in a plain white bucket in a U.S. Army field depot that can turn a barrel of pond water into drinking water safe enough for a newborn. No filter, no pump, no electricity. Just a chalky white disc, smaller than the button on your shirt, that destroys 99.9% of everything alive in the water in under 30 minutes. It kills E. coli. It kills Giardia. It tears apart the cholera bacteria that killed tens of millions of people across the 19th century. One tablet treats 200 gallons. A 1-pound bag costing under $20 purifies over 10,000 gallons. Enough clean drinking water to keep a family of 4 alive for more than 10 years. The United States Army uses it in the field. The World Health Organization stockpiles it by the ton for cholera outbreaks in Haiti, Yemen, and Bangladesh. NASA studied it. The Environmental Protection Agency has registered it since 1928. The Egyptians knew this 4,500 years ago. A scribe in the 4th dynasty watched a village die of bad water and watched the ones who stored water in copper live, and he carved the method into the wall of a royal tomb before his eyes closed for the last time. And today, a global bottled water industry valued at $378 billion has buried this tablet so deeply the average American has never heard of it. 12 corporations control 70% of that market. Nestle, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Danone. They sell you a gallon of water for $2. This tablet purifies the same gallon for less than half a cent. What cannot be bottled, branded, and sold back to you at a 10,000% markup cannot be allowed to spread. So they buried it, and they are still burying it. Welcome to Buried Knowledge. 4,500 years ago, in the reign of the 4th dynasty pharaohs, a scribe knelt beside the Nile in the gray light before dawn. The air was thick with the green, wet rot of the flood season. He dipped a clay cup into the river and lifted it. The water was the color of wet sand, thick with silt, and when he brought it to his lips, tasted of mud and iron, and something sour underneath that made his throat tighten. He walked back to the village. He poured the cup through a folded square of linen stretched across the mouth of a hammered copper jar. The cloth caught the brown grit. He set the jar in the shade and waited through the hottest hours of the day. When he came back at dusk and lifted the lid, the water inside was pale and clear. He drank. The taste was clean, faintly metallic from the copper, but clean. The sour edge was gone. In the next hut over, a family had drunk directly from the river that morning. By the next dawn, 2 of their children were dead. The scribe did not understand bacteria. He could not see the invisible armies that turned a village well into a mass grave within a week, but he could count the bodies. Those who stored water and copper lived. Those who drank from common clay died. The Smith Papyrus, dated around 2400 BC, documents this practice in plain ink. Copper for water, copper for wounds, copper for life. 2,000 miles to the east, in the Indus Valley, physicians compiled the Sushruta Samhita, one of the oldest surgical texts in human history. A healer kneels beside a sick child. He lifts a cloudy bowl of well water, smells the faint green stagnation, and shakes his head. He sets the bowl on a flat stone in the white afternoon sun. He heats an iron rod in the coals until the tip glows orange and plunges it into the water with a sharp hiss of steam that smells of scorched metal. He pours the water through a column of sand and gravel. What comes out the bottom is cold, clear, and tastes of nothing at all. He gives it to the child. The child lives. The same knowledge surfaces again in Persia. Herodotus, the Greek historian, wrote that the kings of Persia traveled nowhere without a long train of wagons carrying silver jars of boiled water. On the march across the dry Anatolian plateau, a king lifts a silver cup to his lips. The water is cool against the metal, tasteless, with no bite of bitterness, no film on the tongue. Around him, common soldiers drink from clay gourds filled that morning from a village well. Kings who drank from silver survived. Soldiers who drank from common vessels died in their tents of a bloody flux no physician could cure. Then Greece, Hippocrates, in the 4th century before Christ, designed a cloth filter called the Hippocratic sleeve. He boiled water over a wood fire until the steam rose thick and wet against his face, then poured it through tightly woven linen that caught a dark sediment on the inside of the cloth. What dripped into the clay bowl below was clear, warm, and faintly sweet. He gave it to his patients. He wrote that bad water caused disease of the bowels. He was mocked. He was right. Then Rome. Pliny the Elder documented copper vessels, silver coins dropped into drinking water, and the practice of boiling suspect water before feeding it to soldiers on campaign. A legionary on the march through Germania scoops water from a stream, and the smell of wet leaves and something faintly rotten rises from it. His centurion shouts at him to boil it first. The ones who obey set their bronze kettles over the fire and wait for the rolling bubbles. The ones who do not drink straight from the stream. Men who boiled survived. Men who drank from the stream died by the dozens before they ever saw battle. Their corpses left beside the road as the legion marched on. 3 civilizations, 3 continents, 0 contact between the Egyptian tomb carvers and the Indian physicians and the Persian kings. And every single one of them arrived at the same conclusion. There is something in the water that kills. It can be removed. The ones who remove it survive. The ones who do not are buried. This is not folklore. This is observation, repeated across 4,000 years, refined across 50 generations, and finally proven beyond any possible doubt in the year 1854. That year, in the Soho district of London, a physician named John Snow watched 500 of his neighbors die of cholera in 10 days. He did not believe the common explanation that bad air caused the disease. He walked the streets. He mapped the deaths. He noticed that every single cluster of corpses led back to one public water pump on Broad Street. He convinced the local council to remove the handle from that pump. The epidemic collapsed within days. Snow had proven, with nothing but a pencil and a map, that the ancients were right. Something invisible in the water was killing people, and it could be removed. 30 years later, in 1881, a German scientist named Robert Koch identified that something as a living organism, bacteria. Germ theory was born. Stay with me, because what Koch discovered under that microscope in 1881 changes everything we thought we knew about who controls our drinking water today. Within a generation, every major city in the industrialized world began treating its water supply with a single compound that kills bacteria on contact. That compound is calcium hypochlorite. It is a white, chalky powder. 65 to 70% of its weight is pure available chlorine. When it touches water, it releases hypochlorous acid, a molecule that tears apart the cell walls of bacteria, disrupts the reproduction of viruses, and destroys the protective shells of parasites like Giardia and Cryptosporidium. Within 30 minutes of contact, 99.9% of living pathogens in the water are dead. The United States Army literally publishes the instructions. The publication is called Sanitary Control and Surveillance of Field Water Supplies, page 70. 1/4 teaspoon of calcium hypochlorite powder disinfects a 55-gallon barrel of contaminated water. The military trains every field medic in this procedure. A 1-pound bag has a shelf life of 10 years and can treat over 10,000 gallons of water. NASA studied it. The Environmental Protection Agency has registered calcium hypochlorite tablets under EPA registration number 748-295 for the disinfection of drinking water. Systems using 3-inch calcium hypochlorite tablets operate in over 40 states, treating facilities from small 35-gallon per minute wells to plants processing 14 million gallons daily. The American Waterworks Association has published the official standard AWWW AB 300 that governs its use in public water mains. This is not fringe science. This is the backbone of modern civilization. Every time you turn on a tap in America and water comes out that does not kill you, you are drinking the result of calcium hypochlorite, or its chemical cousin. The compound is responsible directly for the greatest extension of human life expectancy in recorded history. Before chlorination, 1 in every 5 children born in an American city died before the age of 5. Most of them died of waterborne disease. By 1960, that number had dropped by over 90%. And yet, if you walk into any major American supermarket tomorrow, and ask the clerk for a calcium hypochlorite tablet for drinking water, they will stare at you. They will direct you to the bottled water aisle. They will sell you a plastic jug of tap water with a label on it for $2.99. The same tablet that saved more human lives than every antibiotic ever invented is not on their shelves. The compound that saves the most lives is the one they train you to fear. Read that again. Why? Before I answer that, I need to tell you about something we put together for the people who have been asking. It is called the Complete Forbidden Outdoor Vault. It is a collection of the techniques we have covered on this channel, written out in full with step-by-step instructions, exact measurements, and cost comparisons. Survival water purification, ancient fire starting, food preservation without electricity, emergency shelter construction, cleaning compounds that cost cents instead of dollars. The techniques your great-grandparents knew by heart before the marketing industry taught you to buy things you could make for free. The link is in the description. Every vault sold helps us dig up the next technique. But stay right here with me because this video just began. And here is the part of this story that should genuinely make you angry. The global bottled water industry is worth $378 billion. By 2033, it is projected to cross $674 billion. 4 corporations control most of it. Nestle, owner of Pure Life, Perrier, and San Pellegrino. Coca-Cola, owner of Dasani and Smartwater. PepsiCo, owner of Aquafina and Life DUTR. Danone, owner of Evian and Volvic. These corporations do not own water. No one can own water. Water falls from the sky. It flows through rivers. It pools in wells. It is free. What these corporations own is the plastic bottle, the label, and the illusion of scarcity. They take municipal tap water, run it through the same filters your refrigerator has, and sell it back to you at a markup of over 2,000 times the cost of production. Now do the math. One $3 tablet of calcium hypochlorite purifies 200 gallons of water. That is the equivalent of roughly 1,500 standard bottles of bottled water. At $2.99 a bottle, that same volume in the store cost you $4,485. $3 versus $4,485 for the same result. They did not bury this because it failed. They buried it because it worked too well. You cannot patent calcium hypochlorite. It is a basic inorganic compound. You cannot trademark it. You cannot brand it. What you cannot control, you have to bury. They did not ban it outright. Banning it would have drawn attention. They marginalized it. They reclassified it. They moved it behind the pool chemical counter and labeled it a hazardous material. They passed state-level regulations requiring special permits for retail sale in quantities above a certain weight. They lobbied for municipal rules forbidding its storage in residential garages. They funded public service announcements warning families about the dangers of home water treatment. They invested billions in marketing campaigns that convinced an entire generation that water in a plastic bottle with a mountain on the label was cleaner than water from their own kitchen tap, which was, in fact, already treated with the same compound. The strategy worked. The average American now drinks more bottled water than tap water. The average household spends over $400 a year on a product that costs less than $2 a year to produce at home. Multiply $400 by 130 million American households. That is $52 billion per year flowing out of American homes and into the bank accounts of 4 corporations for water, for something the ancient Egyptians treated for free with a piece of copper. If this video has given you something the marketing industry spent billions to hide, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. It is free, it costs you nothing, and it is the single thing that tells the algorithm to let the next video reach the next family who needs it. Now stay with me because the next part is what they truly do not want you to hear. The honest part. Calcium hypochlorite is not a perfect solution. It does not remove heavy metals. It does not remove pesticides. It does not remove industrial chemicals like lead or arsenic. If your source water is contaminated with anything other than living pathogens, you need additional filtration, usually a simple activated carbon filter and a sediment filter, both of which you can buy for under $30. Calcium hypochlorite must be stored correctly. It is reactive. It must be kept dry in a sealed container, away from direct sunlight and away from anything combustible. It cannot be mixed with ammonia or acid. Stored properly, it holds its potency for up to 10 years, and a dose that is too high will leave the water tasting strongly of chlorine. The correct dose is 1/4 teaspoon of powder per 55-gallon drum, or 1 tablet per 200 gallons, or for small volumes. You make a 5% stock solution by dissolving 1.5 teaspoons of powder in 1 cup of water, and then adding a few drops of that solution to each gallon you want to treat. The exact military specifications are published in the open document I mentioned earlier. Credibility matters more than hype. Here's what you do. You buy 1 pound of 68% calcium hypochlorite. A 1-pound bag costs between $15 and $20 online. Look for the phrase 73% available chlorine or calcium hypochlorite pool shock with no added stabilizers, clarifiers, or algicides. The only ingredient should be calcium hypochlorite. Brands like Drytech, HTH, and CCH all sell a compliant version. Read the label. If it says added copper, added conditioners, or added stabilizers, put it back. You store it in a sealed glass jar in a cool, dry place. Not a garage that gets over 100 degrees, not a damp basement. A closet shelf works. To treat a 55-gallon drum of questionable water, add 1/4 teaspoon. Stir. Wait 30 minutes. Smell it. If there is a faint chlorine odor, it is safe. If there is no odor, add another 1/8 of a teaspoon and wait another 15 minutes. For a single-gallon jug, dissolve 1.5 teaspoons of powder in 1 cup of water to make your stock solution. Then add 4 drops of that stock solution per gallon. Stir. Wait 30 minutes. Drink. A woman named Rebecca in rural Kentucky lost her well to contamination after a neighbor's septic system failed upstream. The county told her it would cost $18,000 to drill a new well. She bought a 2-pound bag of calcium hypochlorite for $31, filtered her existing well water through a cheap sediment filter, and treated it with the tablets for 6 months until she could raise the money. 6 months of drinking water for her, her husband, and her 2 children for $31. She tested the water twice a month with a standard pool test kit. The readings were perfect every single time. Compare that to the commercial alternative. A gravity-fed Berkey system for a family of 4 costs between $300 and $600 and still requires replacement filter elements every year. A single case of bottled water for a family of 4 lasts about 4 days and costs $12. Over 1 year, that is $1,095. Over 10 years, nearly $11,000. For the same result that one $20 bag of calcium hypochlorite and a $2 coffee filter can deliver. The Egyptians knew, the Indians knew, the Persians knew, the Greeks knew, the Romans knew. Jon Snow proved it with a pencil and a map. Robert Koch named the enemy under a microscope. The United States Army publishes the manual. The Environmental Protection Agency registers the compound. The World Health Organization stockpiles it by the ton. NASA studied its chemical relatives for use in orbit. Every municipal water system in the developed world uses it or something like it to keep you alive. The science is settled. The history is undeniable. The evidence is overwhelming. And an industry worth $378 billion has spent the last 40 years convincing you that the answer to clean water is a plastic bottle with a picture of a mountain on it. This knowledge did not disappear. It was buried under $52 billion a year of marketing. It was buried under permit laws and hazardous material reclassifications and television commercials with crystal streams and smiling families. It was buried under the simple human instinct to trust that if something were true, someone would have told you. Someone is telling you now. Your great-grandmother knew. She kept a bag of chlorinated lime in the cellar during the Depression. She treated rain barrels with it. She scrubbed her porch with it. She kept her family alive through 2 world wars and 3 pandemics with it. And her great-grandmother crossed the ocean in a Greek village, kept a copper pot for water and a linen sleeve for straining, and she kept her family alive with that. You come from a line of people who knew how to purify their own water. That line was broken on purpose within the last 2 generations. It can be repaired in an afternoon for less than $20. Every share of this video preserves what they tried to erase. Every subscription makes it harder for them to bury the next one. If this reached you, it is because someone refused to let it die. Your great-grandmother knew, and now so do you. They buried the techniques. We dig them up.